Welcome back. Today I'm wearing my Canon Professional Services thinking cap, so today's instructional video should be extra fantastic, and it's one of my favorite subjects: how to take unbelievable pictures of the moon that show great detail, where you can see all the craters, all the textures, and all the different light and dark spots on the moon. Now, you cannot do that in automatic. What happens is, if you take a picture of the moon, your camera sees all that black, and in automatic it thinks it's trying to help you out, and it lightens up the picture tremendously, and it turns the moon into this absolute pure white circle, and you get no detail whatsoever. So it is one of the things that you have to set your camera on manual, and I'm going to show you how to do that in a minute with my DSLR and my point and shoot camera. I'm going to give you the exact ISO, the exact shutter speed, and then close to the exact f-stop. The reason I mention close is the f-stop is the one thing you might want to adjust a little bit as you're taking pictures to make sure that they're exactly what you want. Now, you might think you need an enormous lens to take pictures of the moon, and you don't. I photographed the moon with a 300 millimeter lens. If all you have is a 200, you will be perfectly fine. Amateur DSLR cameras are what they call non-full frame. That means when you put a 200 millimeter zoom on, or zoom into 200, you're really at about 270, maybe 280, which is pretty good. Now, when you get your final picture, you're going to notice that the moon is not as big as you want it to be. It's not going to be really tiny, but it's not as big as you want it to be. Modern day cameras shoot such high quality images that you'll be able to crop that picture down and have a fantastic picture of the moon. I like shooting the moon when it's a full moon, and I really love shooting the moon when it's just a little bit of sliver. A lot of people will tell you don't use autofocus when you're photographing the moon, and I'm going to tell you, use whatever works best for you. I actually do use autofocus, and it works just fine. After I show you how to set up your camera, we're going to go outside, and I'm going to set up tonight with the full moon, and I'm going to turn on my live view to take the pictures, which I normally don't do, but I'm going to show you in live view with an initial lower f-stop, where the moon's going to look like one giant white ball that looks like nothing, white circle. And then I'm going to slowly adjust the f-stop, and the moon will begin to show more and more detail until I get to the correct f-stop, and it just looks fantastic. And then I'm going to show you some pictures that I've taken of the moon in various phases over the last year, and that should do it. So thank you very much, and I appreciate you watching my videos. Okay, let's get started on how to set your DSLR to take fantastic pictures of the moon. The first thing you're going to do is go look at the shooting mode dial and change that to M for manual. With my camera, you have to push down the button and set it to M. So we've already completed the first step. Next thing we want to do is take a look at the ISO. With my camera, there's a button there that says ISO, and it's showing you the ISO there. So I'm going to push that, and we want to set that to 400. The next thing we're going to want to do, we'll tap the shutter to see what our settings are, and currently we're at a shutter speed of 1/200th of a second, and 1/400th of a second works a little bit better. So there we go. The next thing we want to set is our f-stop, which is now 4.5, and with my camera, you use this dial on the back to change that, and we're going to change that to about 13. Now, it may vary a little bit, so the f-stop is going to be what you're going to adjust once you look at the pictures you're taking. Take one picture and then adjust the f-stop to a lower number if you need to make the moon a little brighter, or to a higher number if you want to make the moon a little darker. Okay, here is my Canon G10 that I've had for many, many years. I just love this little camera. It's kind of a combination of a point-and-shoot camera with semi-professional settings. Photojournalists loved it many years ago for shooting video. If you notice, it has a shooting mode dial right here, and I'm set to automatic. So the first thing we're going to do is change that to manual. Then below that dial, it has the ISO setting, which is very, very convenient. Yours might be on the back menu of your camera, but should be easy to find. Or you may have to push a button that says ISO. But we're going to set our ISO up to 400. So we're completely set there, and we're going to turn the camera on to see what our other settings are. Right now, it is showing 1/200th of a second for our shutter speed. Now, this is pretty easy to change just using this dial, and we're going to change it to 1/400th of a second. And then with my camera, you push this other button to change the f-stop. Now, the highest f-stop this camera has is f8. I think that's a little low, so that's easy to resolve. I'm just going to go to a slightly faster shutter speed, and we're going to change the shutter speed up to about 800. So with this camera, if you want to make the moon lighter or darker, probably the best way is to just adjust the shutter speed up or down and take a look at what you have. Okay, we're outside now looking at the moon on my viewing screen, and the first thing I did was hit the magnification button, which makes it easier to autofocus. Now we're increasing the shutter speed, and we're going to move it up to 500 of a second, which is showing some more detail, and then we're going to increase the f-stop to about 13, maybe just a tint higher, to get our nice dark detail. Once you get what you want, shoot about 20 or 30 pictures and refocus every couple pictures. That way you know that you get a really great final product. Here is the photo we got tonight of the full buck moon, showing fantastic texture and detail. Keep in mind, once you download your pictures to your computer, you're going to do a lot of cropping. I love photographing the moon when it's a little sliver. It's the same settings. Here is one I took of the moon just after it rose, and notice it's much yellower and almost has a red effect. And then here is one I took that shows a little bit of a cloud with just a little bit of an f-stop. And then last, we have a picture where I wanted to show a lot of the clouds, and I had to adjust the f-stop for the clouds and did not get good detail on the moon. It's almost impossible to show clouds along with detail on the moon. Here is one where some clouds were actually going by, and you can see some dark spots and get a pretty interesting picture. Here's one I took last night also that almost looks fake or like a double exposure, but it is not. Once you master the technique of getting good texture on the moon, try to experiment, shoot through things, get silhouettes, add buildings, but always get the correct exposure. This, I somehow took the picture through a light bulb that was lit up in downtown Glenview, and it gave it kind of a glowing effect, which looks surreal. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel, George LeClaire. I post a lot of how-to photography videos.